All right, we're getting ready for final feelings here as Georgia and Missouri get together for y'all. What is a huge clash between, what's become two SEC East powers in 2023. Georgia, a pretty massive 15.5 point favorite. It's going to be tough for Missouri to win this game, just straight to the point. It's going to be tough. It's not out of the realm of possibility, though. There's a couple of reasons why. There's a few things to dissect as I sit in my in my another awesome product from Eco Poly, their porch rocker. I've got more to say about this in a little bit, but um, Missouri coming to Athens, beating number one Georgia, and leaving with everything in front of them. If they do that, they deserve to win the SEC East. I mean, they just do, and that's just all there is to it. Um, what will be challenging for them, as we've talked about a lot this week, can they reduce the amount of penalties that they're averaging? Right now, they're going at about 7 penalties a game. That's way too many. It's just way too many. Things get ratcheted up when you play in Sanford Stadium. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I thought I could put these off, and I cannot. What I'm looking at is straight into the sunlight, but I'm in the shade here in our East Athens location. By the way, you can pick these up on EcoPoly's website, but there's also a raffle right now where you can win two of these. I'm going to put the link for EcoPoly down below, obviously, and then I'm also going to have the information about the raffle. Take advantage of that while you can. It's kind of, you know, it's going to be a little more informal than the way that they do things on EcoPoly's website, but it's something to take advantage of if you're interested in these, because it's such a short time between when they're offering this raffle and when it's going to conclude. So do that now. The link is down below, but it's going to be tough for Missouri, and here's the reason why. Georgia's defense isn't just going to give you anything. You're going to have to go out and take it. And whereas they've got legitimate threats and a quarterback who really has played well this season and is good, they've never seen a defense like this season. Now, Eli Drinkwitz, what he really has focused on during his career is being really good at offense. And they really fought Georgia last year. And it was, Georgia could have lost that game. Now, they shouldn't have lost that game. And to act like they should have is not the way it really was. I mean, they won the game by 4. They took knees on the 20-yard line of Missouri. They could have scored a touchdown or kicked a field goal, win the thing by 7. So there's a bit of over dramatification, whatever the word is there. We kind of romanticize things a little bit more than they really are. That was a tough game for Georgia to win, but it was very similar to the win against Auburn. Actually, it was clearly tighter than the win against Auburn, but it was something like that universe. Um, you're talking about a Georgia team that in these last 3 games, I know it doesn't. I mean, in October and beyond, they've played really well. You was talking about Kentucky. I don't think I need to revisit that. I mean, that was just one of those games where you get Georgia and they're going to thump you. Well, we've seen that 3 games in a row. People say, well, they didn't really do that against Vanderbilt. I mean, I'm not sure I agree with you. Go watch the game and see how that went for Vanderbilt. It was not pretty at all. Not at all. So, if you don't have essentially pick sixes, if you're not turning the ball over, fumbling too much, Georgia will win this game going away. We've got an exciting announcement here. This is something we've not done in some time, but I'm excited to announce that we are publishing a 2024 recruiting guide. If you were old school, like a lot of y'all watching this are, uh, we used to do these every single year from 2003 to 2014, I think it was. And then we stopped printing them. I had no control over that. Well, we're bringing it back. Now, how can you get it? You can buy double dogs for someone for Christmas and get the recruiting guide for free. It's going to focus on Dylan Raiola in this 2024 class. It's a 48-page full-color magazine that's going to be shipped out the Monday after the SEC championship game. So you can either just buy the magazine. The real value, though, is getting double dogs for someone for Christmas, maybe yourself, and getting this included with it. Our friends at EcoPoly, our friends at um, you know Red Zone, we can't do it without them. And this is a great example of what we got. We got some exclusive stuff in here you're not going to find anywhere. Well, no one makes these anymore, so you're literally not going to find these anywhere else. I just want to say something about this chair too. I was at a hardware store, and there were some other competitors of these out there. No, not the same. These are just made better. They're they're more comfortable. As a person who is 6'4", 230-ish, upper 230s, it's much more comfortable for me to sit in these chairs. I literally did take the tear chest, the sitting chest test for Mizzou tomorrow, and it's Friday late afternoon, on the east side of Athens, checking the antenna for tonight's game. Um, it is going to be hard. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think that we've not hidden from that. I just don't think that Georgia's going to blow them out completely. Now, I could be wrong about that. I don't think this will be like, you're saving yourself at the end either. I just think it's going to be like, something maybe like South Carolina, but maybe not that they get down at the half. Something like, the fight that they had against Auburn, maybe. I mean, Georgia's really only had, just thinking through the games here, it could be not dissimilar from UAB. I'm not sure. I feel like it's going to be like Georgia, Kentucky or Georgia, Florida, where it's just like over at the half. Although UAB was over at the half too. But if last week was Georgia sending a message, um, I don't know what this week would be if you just sort of have a routine 17-point win. Uh, that would be a cover, which I do not think they'll do. But winning by 17 is not winning by 30. Like what they did. Well, they didn't win by 30 against the Gators, but they really beat them pretty bad. And what 23? I think they could do that, but we're going to see. I mean, Missouri has been. I'm not going to sit here and act like they've not been tested. Of course they have. The win over Kansas State was a really good win. It was a solid win at that moment and today. The win over the game against LSU, which they did not win, they really lost by 3, if we're being honest, but they lost by 10. Um, you know, they played pretty well in that game. Generally, both teams kind of did on offense. Defense, no. And that's the problem with dealing with Georgia. You're not going to get like a reprieve. Like you're not gonna like they're not gonna be, oh well, we'll just let you score. No, they're not. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. And I think for Brady Cook, if you're Missouri, well, if you're Eli Drinkwitz, you've got to run the football effectively. And there are some cautionary tales from their previous 8 games. One problem is, they're allowing the run too much, which lets the other team dictate. Kentucky ran a lot against Missouri and lost. But that was a great win for Missouri, by the way. On the road, they got down 14-0, and they just sort of cruised on past Kentucky. I thought that was a really good win. That was their best win of the season, even more so than the Kansas State win. Okay, that was a great win. And that was the last. Was that the last time they played? No, they played South Carolina. Yeah, they played South Carolina after that. They played okay against South Carolina. It wasn't anything unbelievable. It was not anything unbelievable, but I think the problem is that you're running into now with this Georgia team playing the way they are right now, you'd better play well. And like, as a person who did play in college, you don't just do that. Like you just got to be there and then you do it. And I think it's been there for Missouri, but now they got to go out and do it. And this will be their toughest test of the season. This will be harder than LSU. This is on the road. This will be harder than hosting Tennessee. They've not played a lot of their schedule, Missouri. Neither has Georgia. But Georgia's rivalry games in the league are gone. For Missouri, um, again, this is a huge test. Now, if Missouri starts running the ball and say they have 70 yards at the half, it's going to be a ball game. Like, unless that came on one run, that's going to be a real fight for Georgia to get through, and they'll have to figure it out. I think the problem, if you want to call it that, and we saw this last year at Missouri when Ryan and I were there. Once momentum hits you in Sanford Stadium and you're the opposing team, man, that's tough. Commonwealth is a hard place to play. It's not like Sanford, and part of that is because of the players. But the Sanford Stadium is not at all like it was in the '90s. This is a frightening place to play. It's very nice. It's not like Tiger Stadium, which is just not a nice place, or Neyland, which is not a nice place, and it's really hard. Georgia's nice, and it's really hard to play there, you know. But I mean, I've been around the league. I've seen the opposing locker rooms and the post game setups and like all that stuff. Georgia is nice. Everywhere else is not nice. And so this is not that bad on that front. But then when you walk out of the tunnel, and here comes Missouri, here comes the 93,000. And, Mizzou probably will have 4,000 tickets tomorrow. And, they have shown 10 years ago that they can win in Athens. I mean, anybody can win in Athens. South Carolina's done it, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Florida's done it once. Um, but, it is tough to play in Athens, and that will be the challenge for Mizzou. Are they going to, respond to the thing that's right ahead of them? Are they going to be ready for the moment? I don't know. I don't know. And I think my suspicion is that Georgia will. Why? When you watch these inside the SECs with Kirby and that company and that team, when you look at the way that they prepare for these big moments, and this is a big moment. I mean, Georgia loses this game, they're probably not going to win the SEC. They're probably not going to Atlanta. They're probably not going to the playoff. You don't think they've been hearing that the whole time this week? I mean, this is a huge game for both teams. I think the difference is Georgia has done this a lot. Like, they played a huge game. I mean, for me, they played three huge games this year. Huge is a relative term, but in the moment, Auburn, Kentucky, and Florida. For Missouri, Kansas State became a huge game. Now, I don't know if it was heading into it or not or what, but, and then definitely Tennessee, Kentucky, and I would say certainly LSU. Georgia's better than all those teams. Is Missouri better than Auburn? Yeah, they are. Are they better than Kentucky? Yes, they are. Are they better than Florida? We're going to see. I think they are. How much better are they than them? Does it make a difference? Georgia's played one of those games at home, and Missouri played two of their big games at home. Does that matter? Not really. But you're going to have to deal with crowd noise on third downs at all times, particularly in the second half if the game is tight. I mean, it's going to be loud. You're going to get some false starts. Are you going to be able to make sure every single thing is right almost every single down? There's no telling when Georgia will explode on you. It's been on the second quarter a lot, but there's no telling when they will explode on you. And they will explode on you. Ask South Carolina, ask Auburn, ask Ohio State. Ask Missouri. Missouri, just rewind the film to the fourth quarter of last year. They're going to do something to you. Can you do something to them? And last year they couldn't at the end of the game. They were bogging down. They were making too many field goal attempts, some of which they made. Now he kicked that huge one against Kansas State, but he has not kicked as well this season as he did last, or at least he's not kicking well this season. He was superb last year against Georgia. I mean, he was amazing. And that kept them ahead in that game probably longer than they probably should have been. But, I mean, I expect Georgia to win this game. Now, I'll be surprised. I won't be shocked if they lose. I'll be surprised if they lose. You're talking about a 15.5-point favorite, number one team in the country. The last time, I actually went back and looked this up. The last time a team at 1 or 2 was this big of a favorite and lost was Clemson in 16 when they just randomly lost as a 24-point favorite to Pitt. I mean, it was just bizarre. So, can this happen to Georgia? It happened when they were the number 3 team in the country against South Carolina. They had 4 turnovers, and just Jake Fromm played bad. That can happen. The flip side of that is Missouri can't lose this turnover battle by 2. They lose the turnover battle by 2. Man, it's bad news for them. They'll get run out of the gym. But we're just gonna have to see what happens. This team has proven, Georgia, how resilient and how good they are. There's always, this is probably the first week where they've gotten a lot of the mojo that they had in the offseason sort of back. And then they were ranked number 2 by the College Football Playoff Committee, which we talked about a lot. I mean, I really think that's a big deal, and I don't think it's really wrong. So, but that doesn't matter if you're Kirby and them. They're just going to say, hey, man, they're disrespecting you. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. I'd take Georgia right now over Ohio State. I think it'd be a real big fight, but I think that they'd probably win. But we're just going to see. Let me put it to you. Let me ask you this way: if Missouri were playing at Ohio State tomorrow, do you think that they would win? Just take Georgia out of it. Do you think that they would win at Michigan? I don't. So sometimes you got to take the names off the side of the helmet. So what is really going on here? But I do think 15 and a half. Now I don't really know what it is right now. It could be 16. It could be 15. But 15 and a half, that's just a touch rich for my blood. I think that's just a little high. And I think Missouri is going to do all they can do to stick in this game. Why wouldn't they? I mean, this is the biggest moment for Missouri football since they played, Auburn in a shootout in 2013, the SEC championship game. I think it's probably going to be somewhat similar result. Not somewhat similar. I think that the result is going to be the same. That Missouri is going to go home with a loss. I just don't know that the two teams are going to combine for 120 points or whatever crazy number was in that game. So we will have it completely covered. Make sure you're checking. Hey, take advantage of this right now. Now, I don't. We're not going to print a ton of these. So if you're wanting to get double dogs for Christmas, now's the time. Act. It will be shipped just after the SEC championship game. Will Georgia be playing in it or Missouri? We'll start to find that out tomorrow.